Welcome back to Just Giants with Grump and the Cranky Fan, the best damn podcast for the best damn football team. I am your host, the Football Grump, and with me as always is Mike the Cranky Fan.
Grump, congratulations. We did it. Episode number 300. We haven't been canceled yet.
Yeah, not yet. And honestly, it's thanks to you guys that we're still around doing this. I think if we were talking completely into the void, we would have stopped by now. But you guys keep coming back, and the YouTube channel has definitely grown a lot, and that's all thanks to you guys. So 300th episode, we thought we'd do something really cool. So we got a couple of guests on, and we just wanted to talk Giants stuff kind of as a round table. So we got a group of really, really cool guests, and it's a nice long episode, but it's a really fun one, right?
Oh, I had the time of my life, and I never felt that way before.
All right, so here is our 300th episode. Enjoy, and we'll see you on Tuesday morning for a normal episode on the mandatory minicamp wrap-up. Enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome to the 300th episode of Just Giants. Welcome. We have some wonderful guests here with us. This is our first ever Just Giants War Room. We're going to plan on doing these a couple times a year with some of our favorite people. And with us today are a couple of guests, but of course you also know the Cranky Fan, who's here with me as our co-host. And I'm going to start by introducing everybody, and I want you all to answer this question as I go. First, let's start with I don't know where he is, but he's on the screen somewhere. He is the face of every single variation of Giants fan and one of the hosts for the New York Revival show on YouTube with Spiro and Vibes. This is El Jefe. Let me get your opinion on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, the most. How much do you hate the Cranky Fan right now between his nonstop ranting of the Lightning and the Rays?
Probably an 8.5. I feel pretty good about that. Yeah.
Hey, I'll take that. That works.
He's you know what, of all your rivalries, Cranky Fan, you've been the most sporting this time. I think you've been not so mean.
Well, I don't hate the Rangers.
Yeah,
that's the simple fact.
That helps.
I have they are kind of my stepbrother, being such diehard Knick fans, so I kind of, they're part of the family.
That Garden Alliance.
Exactly. It's my Lord and Savior James Dolan is
boy.
God.
So you worship Satan.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right.
No, I mean, I don't have the hatred for the Rangers or the Islanders that I do for other teams in the New York market, but
I do
Respect it.
Yeah.
So Jefe, I have to mention this. I'm a jerk. I've been invited on New York Revival twice, and both times I couldn't do it. Once you invited me, I think it was the week of the draft, right? I asked you if you wanted to come on. You were like, I promised my wife I'd be off tonight or tomorrow night or whatever, but you can come on tonight. And I was like, I kind of promised my girlfriend this was my one night off.
I came here just to make sure that you weren't mad at me or something, because you keep blowing me off. So here I am. We're cool, right? We're good.
We are cool. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Welcome to my world. You close me off 3 times a day.
Yeah. I am super glad to finally have you on the show. I hope to get on New York Revival at some point, but
that's an open door, man. Anytime.
Yeah.
Any of you guys.
Being a Devils fan, I feel like I'm at a place right now.
Who are they?
Man, I agree. Who the hell are we? That's why I kept my mouth shut. I've been watching USFL football instead of hockey this whole
Good
time.
Lord.
Yeah.
Oof.
Well, you know what? Yeah, the grind never stops. Moving along. He is the host of the only Giants podcast in Nevada, as far as I know, and he's a repeat guest on this show. It's Victor Perez from the Just a Giants Fan podcast. Welcome back, Victor. How are you?
You missed me choking on my water because I was muted. I'm
Perfect.
great right now.
Well played.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate the Cranky Fan right now between his nonstop ranting of the Lightning and Rays?
Honestly, and this might be a little sacrilegious right now, I couldn't give a shit less about baseball or hockey. Although I do hope that this win streak, whatever it is, with our head coach attending a game in New York continues. And that carries over to North Jersey as well.
Right on.
We'll be 20-0 next year if it carries over.
Well, whatever sacrilege you committed immediately, I think you made up for with that one. That was a pretty suave answer, I gotta say. And finally,
I'll take that. I'll take that as he's an ardent supporter of my commentary. So thank you. The next answer
Sure.
may not be as much.
So he is the most outspoken Giants fan and the biggest idiot on the planet for just so many different reasons. But he also runs a pretty sweet tailgate, and I love him to death, even if I hate him nonstop. This is Snacks. Welcome to the show. Snacks, is this your first time on our show?
It is. It is.
It is.
indeed.
Oh, welcome, buddy.
My
I hope this
first-
is the first of many.
You never forget your
I hope
first
so.
time.
No, I don't. Absolutely not. Well, anyway, it's great to be here. And Grump, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think we texted each other this today as well. You said, I
did.
hate that I love you. And then I wrote back, the biggest regret I've had in my life is loving you.
Yep.
And I hate myself for it. So
I was actually, I was watching the revival show that you were on from a couple weeks ago. It was right after the Penguins game.
yes.
And I don't remember any of them now, but I was listening at work and I was like, fucking, he's right about everything so far. He's killing it. So I had to tell him that he did a really good job on the show. And I didn't want to do that, but I had to.
I didn't want to do that.
I didn't want to.
It felt really good. I just came out of a meeting and I saw it. I was like, wow. This is a once in a lifetime here. So
All right. So speaking of feeling really good, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate the Cranky fan
10.
right now? 10. Yeah, I thought so.
That was
I'm
a quick
surprised
10.
it's not higher.
no, well, you said 1 through 10, and I'm gonna really try my best to listen to you tonight. This is your show, so and this is a very difficult thing for me to do, is to listen to others. But I'm going to respect you. I'm not going to respect Cranky tonight because, like I said, 10. But other than that, it's whatever. It's good. Crank, I love you, but
Okay.
10.
You know,
I don't think Cranky fan knows this because I've never told him, Snacks, but he texts me all the time, Cranky, and he's like he'll like pull your tweets where you're just bitching about the most random shit, and he's like, I love him. Every time I want it like once a week, right? Snacks, you find something that Cranky says.
At least you'll
See-
you'll tweet something, and I literally sit on my phone and I laugh out loud, and I don't want to respond to, because I don't want to get you going even more. So I just send it to Grump, and I'm like, I love this man.
you see, here's the thing, is that I love all my teams equally. You know, I'd rather, I haven't had a championship yet in basketball and baseball, so, you know, you're waiting longer, but baseball is the sport where you're just watching for 3 hours by yourself. And it's that slow burn,
Yeah, it's a great point.
and things just boil up and you get so pissed. And the thing is, I have a wife, she's in the other room back there. And after, 15 years, she doesn't want to hear it anymore every night. She doesn't want to hear a rant about our idiot manager. She doesn't want to hear about, just stupidness. So Twitter's the greatest thing ever. I just scream to nobody. And instead of me like having a big curse storm where like the bubble cloud of curses is all over the apartment, it just goes out to Twitter, and I feel a lot better. I'm
Perfect.
good.
Don't ever stop, please.
Yeah. So it's not like I love the Rays more than I do the Giants. It's just that's my outlook. Football, we all know. You watch a football game and it's just kind of like, oh, baseball is that slow burn, and right now it just burns the shit out of me, that team. So although they are at 5-1 in the fifth, if you guys really care right now. But
Oh yeah, I very
Certainly
much-
don't. Yeah. Not even a little.
So was the Rangers game, the Rangers Lightning game, was that Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday.
That was Sunday. All right.
Yeah.
So
Demoralizing.
Snacks, how much do you hate that I legitimately watched the USFL game instead?
I despise you. Are you
Right.
kidding me?
That's
Like
just
everybody. So you're almost like Cranky, who's tweeting out things that he would be cursing at to his wife about a game, and then you'll tweet out USFL when everybody else is tweeting about the Rangers.
Nobody cares. I'm like the only one. If you like the USFL will tweet something, I'm the only comment every time.
I got to tell you, I give you credit. I respect it.
at least with me, as Yankee fans, you guys are like, well, I should know what's happening to a team in my division.
I will say I do appreciate that, but then again, you're bitching and moaning about something. I'll check the score and it's 7-1 Rays.
That's not true.
Oh,
No, come on,
that's
come on.
true.
It's absolutely true.
That's not true. No.
Um,
It's something. It's usually involving our idiot manager and a bullpen mismanagement. That's what gets me fired up.
That's fair.
7-1.
And the bottom of the order.
Well, that fucking moron. If sorry. See, that's how it starts. So
I
hold
should have
on.
known putting the two of you together was
Wait
gonna
on.
cause this.
I'm just tweeting it out right now. Okay, I'm good. No, I love Snacks. I mean, we've been very civil during these games, during the playoff games, texting each other. We have a
Surprisingly, yes, we really had. There's been no like. Well, I think I did say "fuck you" once, but that
well,
was
that's every morning.
Isn't that?
That's
Yeah, I was
true.
gonna say that's like good morning.
That's a term of endearment for
Well,
Snacks,
I'm not the guy in a game who like turns around when my team scores and like, look at me, fuck all of you guys. I'm
That's
just
true.
Like tomorrow night at the Garden, there's no way in hell I'm wearing a Lightning jersey. There's no way in hell I'm
I
taunting
wouldn't.
anybody.
I wouldn't.
No, we had to get escalated. I know this is going long, but in the 2015 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7,
Ugh.
we went to the game. We sat up top. I wore my Stamkos jersey, and I was online getting a hot dog, and this guy was like, "I'm gonna kick your ass right now." And there was a cop standing right next to me. I'm like, "Do you hear that?" And he's like, "You doing it?" So with 3 minutes left, the usher goes to me. He goes, "You may want to go out that back door." I'm like, "Yeah, I might do that." And he's like, "You may want to do it right now." Like,
Gotta
you know
save your
something?
life.
I'll watch the handshake from the bar or something. So we just snuck out of there, and I will never wear. I know not to poke the bear. You know something. I'm just gonna show up, watch the game, and leave. I didn't say anything to Ranger fans last night down in Tampa. I wasn't giving them any grief. That's, you know something. If you're a fan going to an opposing stadium or an arena at this time of the season, I respect you.
Fair
And
enough.
I don't care about you I'm there for me to win. I don't care about you guys. I have my own problems. So I'll be on best behavior.
To that end, I will say real quick, I went decked out Giants gear to a game in Philly, Monday Night Football when I was
Philly's
in
an
college.
exception.
I'll never do it again. My life was threatened. Like I was wearing an old school Rodney Hampton jersey, it got ripped off my body. Like it came home in shreds. So
They are such vile human beings. I went to the game in Philly for the COVID year when they let like 7,500 people in. I told myself and my family, I'm like, this will be the only time I ever go to Philly because there's 7,500 people. What are they going to do? We're all spread out.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Pretzel bites thrown at us.
I don't need that shit. I don't need that in my life.
Well, Vic, you have the Raiders now. Have you seen a shift in dynamic around with the people around by you?
The people out here in Vegas jump on to any little bit of professional sports they can. We got a AAA baseball team out here, and just like when you go over to Summerlin, half the shirts say Aviators on them. So everyone out here is nuts for the Raiders. They're not crazy like Oakland type, just insanity over there, but they all deck out and everything. I want to go to a Raiders game at some point just to see the new stadium.
Of course, yeah.
I have no excuse. I have no excuse yet.
I think we should make a solemn promise, everybody. The first time we're on the schedule out there, we need to make
I couldn't agree more.
Giants fan road trip and make it happen.
Start on Wednesday and end on Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
I'll take you guys to Sapphires.
Beautiful.
There you go.
Tell Pebbles I said hi, by the way.
Yeah. All right, Cranky, why don't you kick it off with a real we're going to shift to actual Giants garbo right now. Let's talk some Giants stuff.
Joe Shane and Brian Daboll are fresh young faces that the Giants social media team has crammed in our faces any chance they could to help generate good PR. Shane has impressed fans with his modern thinking and swift action, while Daboll has charmed fans with humor, energy, and past success. The two have been spotted numerous times at Ranger games saying all the right things to Giant fans. Everybody wins the offseason, but at this point, what have you liked so far from this offseason, and what moves have made you scratch your head from these two?
So, Jefe, why don't you take it away?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would have said that Shane and Dave's the best crime fighting duo in all the land is the best thing about this offseason, just the different vibe that they've brought to camp. You can feel it just through the social media that the players are relaxed, that they're having fun, that they kind of enjoy being there. Nobody's retiring. Nobody's running laps. Nobody's like, yes, Joel Sargent. Like these guys are actually enjoying football. So like there's a better vibe. It's way better than the Shermer Judge era. And it's, hindsight is 2020, but you can kind of tell that this is different. You can tell that I feel way better, even though I felt good about the last guys because I wanted to. But like these guys actually feel like they know what they're doing. So like I'm all about those guys. I think it's great that they were hired together. So I love that stuff. In terms of what am I scratching my head about? There's a lot of red jerseys out there, and I know it's way early, so I'm certainly not going to overreact to any of that. But you know, Galladay looked good to me running routes today, so I think it's all just precautionary. But they re-signed CJ Board. That always upsets me. But that's always a head scratcher for me. But it's too early. I'm just enjoying the new staff and the new regime. I like what they're doing so far.
Interesting. Yeah, I would say that that was probably the most elated we were as Giants fans was, the Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll hiring, right? Right now, everything that we're excited for is just potential and excitement. But so far, I think I don't know that Brian Daboll's really delivered anything yet, but Joe Schoen certainly has, I think.
Well, one of the big things we had talked about was we need to become a 21st century team. We felt like an old team doing things the old way. And even getting Joe Judge, it's like, okay, he's from the New England tree and everything, but that seems like it's kind of the past. It's not forward thinking. And if you look at the teams right now, it's Buffalo, it's Kansas City, it's modern offenses that try to score 1,000 points, spraying the field out and doing all these things. So
Rams,
instead of bringing in another regime that does things the old way, and like to your point, being drill sergeants and 3 yards
3 a days.
Yeah, exactly. Let's be modern. And I think we're finally, this is an old ownership group. It's been there for 1,000 years. There's a lot of old people in the building. We need to get a jolt to the 21st century. And I think we've done that. And that's the most exciting thing.
Yeah. And it extends beyond, I think, even the X's and O's of it. I mean, the Giants are an organization that has operated as like a family business where they do right by everybody. But at a certain point, are you getting walked all over by idiots? Joe Schoen, for me to answer this question, since I'm talking, I guess, out of turn, I think the coolest thing that Joe Schoen did was fire Chris Petty after the draft.
Took that out
immediately after. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's potential that the Kadarius Toney smoke was to smoke out leaks. I don't know for sure that that's true, but I hope that's
true because
it's a reasonable thing to
right. Feels smart,
right? Yeah.
If that's true, that's like one of those things where 20 years from now, when there's a book written about the big shift in the organization, that I hope that's a true thing that came out.
I think that truth will come out. And Grump, to your Petty comment real quick. He also got rid of other longtime scouts and everything like that. So he's really clearing. We all know Chris Mara was never going anywhere, so we got to stop bitching about that. He's never going anywhere. But the fact that he was able to clear so many of those guys that have put together disastrous draft after disastrous draft after disastrous draft is a monumental change that it blows my mind, actually, that we're here.
Well, since you're going, why don't you direct the question to you? All right.
Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, you're good. Go.
Yeah, so obviously, I'm not going to keep repeating how excited I am for the Schoen Daboll pairing. I also will say real quick, and it's not me being the miserable fan and the miserable person that I am. I think we're going to have to start lightening it up on social media with them just a little bit. What
do you mean by that?
Because they're lightening with Shane smiling and Daboll smiling. There's just maybe a little too much. Today was great with Sam Prince. Love that. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But I think, they're the general manager and coach. Let's let them do their jobs. We don't need to see them all the time. But that's fine. It's just a small little thing that
100%
that I really don't.
I'm with you there. I'm with you.
100%.
It's just 12 different pictures a day. I don't need it. But regardless, something that really excited me about the offseason and after Daboll was hired was the staff he put together. We saw with Judge, he hired a lot of guys he worked with and that he had ties with outside of Garrett, who we know was forced on him. But everybody that was on Joe Judge's staff worked with him previously, or he had a connection to somehow, some way. With Daboll, he never worked with Kafka, his offense coordinator. He never worked with Wink, his defense coordinator. But those are two good coaches. You lose Patrick Graham, which we all saw what he could do, but you bring in Wink, who's been a very good veteran defensive coordinator. Kafka, no, he has no experience offensive play, calling an offense or being an offense coordinator, but he was just tutored under Andy Reid for a few years now. So you got to like that potential there. And then it's just the position coaches. Besides, I think Bobby Johnson, I don't really know too many ties to Brian Daboll elsewhere. So I think that was really cool. I also love the fact that, in my opinion, and hopefully, granted they haven't touched the field yet, they stayed at 5-7 and drafted 2 blue chip players at 2 massive positions of need and premium positions. I think that was incredible. And my head scratchers, honestly, it's been a pretty, to me, not like an overwhelmingly exciting offseason. Obviously, we had no money, but cutting Logan Ryan for nothing really didn't make any sense to me. I don't get it. I know there's a lot more. There's got to be a lot more to that story that we don't know about, but I thought that was weird. And don't get mad at me, Grump. Don't get mad at me. I'm not shitting on the player because I don't know what he's going to be yet. But the second round pick was a premium pick that I was very confused on with Robinson. So, but I'm not like, he's not a bust. You know, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just, that was a premium pick. And I hope they're right. And I trust Joe Shane, Brian Dable. So what they say goes, and I'm all in on. But it can make my scratch my head in the moment.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair hit. I was actually an answer I predicted, to be honest.
We didn't say they were bad moves. We were just like, what's making you scratch it? Like right now, everything is all wine and roses and everything. But what are something that are like, and that's exactly the kind of answer we were looking for. I like exactly what you said about the 2 picks, because it's kind of going into my bigger thought about it. And we're going to talk about him a lot later about Daniel Jones, is that they don't have any assumptions at all that Daniel Jones is gone after this year. And a lot of people are like, well, we can trade the picks for next year. We're going to be hunting for a big game quarterback. I really respect the fact, and I am not a Daniel Jones apologist. I'm not his agent. I'm not his brother. I'm looking at this as the slate is clean with Daniel Jones, and they are treating it the same way. They're going to give him an honest evaluation. They're going to put him in the best opportunity to succeed. Not that he's going to be a Pro Bowler this year, but is this some guy we want to work with in the future? And if you trade one of those picks, you know, we got arguably the best offensive lineman in the draft. But if you're going to punt for next year, you're saying, we've already made our mind up. We're going to go through the motions with Daniel Jones. We made our mind up. They have not done that. And I think that's huge. And that's, you know, let's see what we got. The guy really is a bust. He's a bust. But
we'll learn that. Yeah,
right. Exactly. And we're going to talk more about Daniel Jones later in the show. But I think
I'm sorry. I wanted to just kind of piggyback off what you're saying. At some point when your roster is really bad and deprived of like upper echelon players, and you have 2 premium picks, you do it. I mean,
you need stars. You need stars.
You need stars. You need top of the line players, and we really didn't have any. And I think these 2 guys that we drafted can very well be. So, like you said, Crank, punting on a year just to get an extra first next year to force a trade and probably, you know, not get a good return for it. No, I'm very happy with what they did in the draft.
And also, we are not just a quarterback away from winning the Super Bowl this year.
Right.
We have the time and the opportunity to play out the Daniel Jones experiment and see. If he's not good, we move on. If they show signs, we'll work with it in the future. But he's not going to hold us back from being, you know, 13 and 4.
Yeah.
Whatever the math is now. I'm still adjusting.
It's weird. It's still weird.
Vic, what do you think?
You guys have said a lot of things that I would have said. I guess, you know, for me, I like that the overarching theme of this for a lot of people of this offseason, right, is that things that we have been screaming about for years are finally fucking getting addressed.
Yeah.
Scouts are gone. Chris Pettit is gone. We drafted another lineman early. You know, we got an edge rusher. Holy crap. It feels like Eric Flowers was a rookie the last time we actually like started, you know, that it's been that long, not that he was like them addressing it, but like it's been so long that like before my kids were born was the last time that we actually had significant needs addressed in this manner. I guess if I got a nitpick, something that was a kind of a head scratcher to me, I personally would have just screwed with Leonard Williams' contract, put a void year on the end of it and just turn his entire, you know, as much as you can, his salary into a bonus. And then that would have given us the money to keep Bradbury and have an extra $2 million. So that would have been a personal preference to me, because for me, losing Bradbury is a huge thing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
That's actually that's a great point. I do want to talk a little bit about that, because I think we're all in agreement that this year we're just going to have to deal with the secondary the way it is. And we all kind of knew that before Joe Shane did any cutting or adding. I mean, I think like 5 different podcasts did the exact same exercise where they were like, how the hell do we cut $40 million? Like what? And I don't
tried.
Yeah, we tried. You and I couldn't do it. We got close. We got to like 35 or something, and we made the roster terrible when we did it. So I guess I have like kind of a question based on this. So we know that the secondary has to be a massive investment next year of some variety of free agents, of re-signing guys or something, and drafting guys probably. I guess just as like a philosophy, a standpoint here, would you rather be drafting corners in upcoming drafts to replace the missing parts, or would you rather be like just throwing money at corners that are like the sure thing that are on the market? Like it just generally, and you guys can just answer as a mob. I don't really care.
For me, I always hate throwing big money to anybody, even proven or not. It's just kind of, I don't know. I don't like it, but cornerback is a position I would. But I'm also very weary of throwing big money at cornerbacks that aren't being re-signed by their team, because nowadays that is legitimately, it's not as important as an edge rusher, but it's right there in a passing league like that. So I'm a little skeptical of that. So for me, I'm all about the draft. And in fact, I wanted Sauce at 5 because I think he was going to be the real deal. And I think that, a lockdown corner is, to me, a premium pick, and I would not have minded him there. So if I had to answer that question, I would lean always more towards the draft on these kind of kids. But, if you got an Adoree Jackson that falls in late in free agency, or,
he was a surprise cut. I mean, everybody was kind of like, what?
Yep. And that's not going to happen every year. And that, to me, that deal wasn't that bad either. He was a productive guy, productive player. If you can find guys like that aren't going to burn you all year, and you could pay him a respectable, give him a respectable contract without completely overshooting your load, then okay. But you see what I did there?
Overshooting your load.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were going to pivot to the Deshaun Watson conversation already, bro. Anybody else with that? Because I think this is actually like a super interesting philosophy, because I don't entirely disagree with him, but at the same time, as somebody who's like, my big thing is the draft. I really enjoy that stuff. I really enjoy watching like college players, and that to me is the hardest one to predict. And a lot of those corners fail. The top ones, they fail. And that's a huge investment to whiff on. I mean, we know because we do it all the time. Evan Ingram sucked. Eric Flowers was horrible. I mean, we whiff.
Eli Apple was really good.
Eli Apple was fantastic. He was on a great Super Bowl team.
That was a great pick.
Top notch.
So I do think that but at the same time, you're right. We know now, the league knows that good DBs are hard to come by, and they're really important. But then I think of things like, the Saints have, what the hell is this? They have a couple of good, yeah, they have Marshawn Lattimore, but they are also been in cap hell for the last decade. Is there a chance that they just won't be able to afford him and he'll be on the market?
I think it depends on the situation.
I'd give the bullet to the bullet. Why would I say the bullet? I don't want to shoot the guy.
Yeah,
why
are you taking
Eli
Apple?
A lot of shooting going on.
Yikes.
A lot of shooting.
Bourbon,
I
maybe.
think it depends on the situation. I think it depends on the situation and our timeline. Do I want to give a lot of money right now in free agency to a corner when there's no urgency to have one? Or do I want to draft one and let him grow and use that cap money to address other spots? I think it's a situational question. Like right now, I wouldn't give big money. I mean, assuming our cap was in a better situation, I don't know if I'd give big money right now, because we're not like with the Daniel Jones thing.
I see we're not there yet. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
Given our current situation, I'm liable to agree with Snacks. And I got the list of UFAs up on Spot Track right now for next year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all dudes that are either over 30 or will be over 30. And it's Eli Apples.
Well, I mean,
just some bad.
It's going to be market depending.
No, it is literally Eli Apple will be an unrestricted free agent next year too.
Did he sign somewhere this year?
I thought he signed a 1-year deal.
Did he go back with Cincy?
I think he did.
I don't know. I assume he got signed.
I'll tell you.
But regardless, it's like there's no one I would want to throw money at. And if you're not going to throw money at a corner position, you're not going to get somebody who's going to come in and, shut down a guy, for 4 quarters. So I think we need to grow talent. I'm just nervous about the unproven talent that we have on our roster. So it is.
So we're obviously coming from a place of cap hell. So it's like, no, you don't want to throw a bad.
Well, of course, yeah.
But you showed what Bradbury, what an acquisition like that can do for your defense. Like that, nobody expected him to be the guy he was in 2020. So it is like Snacks was saying, it's a position of huge worth, like top 3 or 4 most important positions in football. I'm not a fan of making somebody the highest paid guy at their position, but like if you can get a quality guy at a reasonable price, then I'm obviously okay with it, because a proven commodity at that important position is certainly worth it, but not for where the Giants are at now. You got to grow some homegrown talent. When you're ready to make a strike for the postseason, then you go and get that guy.
Who knows? Maybe we trade Saquon for a corner before the deadline.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Segue.
You're our new, you're our new
segue.
alternate for the next time one of
You're
us
our
is sick.
segue voiceover guy.
Yeah, going right into our next question here, and I'm going to start with you, Cranky fan. How do you want Joe Schoen to handle Saquon Barkley? And does your answer change if he's on pace for 2,000 total yards?
I don't think Saquon Barkley's the future of this team. And, even if he's having a fantastic year in the first 7-8 weeks, I listen to every offer possible for him, and we try to get as much as we can for him. I love the guy, but I know that he has an injury history now. And if his value is as high as it can be, I think we entertain offers and we make a deal if we can. Even if he's having a Pro Bowl year, he's having an All-Pro year. He's even so, this is still his 5th year, 4th year?
5th
year. So
Yeah.
he has miles on the tires, even just from an age perspective. He's not super young anymore. So let's say this rebuild takes 3-4 years. Is he really going to be a part of that team in 3-4 years at maximum? No. So I again, it goes back to Daniel Jones that we want him to have as many weapons as possible to give him the best chance to succeed. And 100% Saquon Barkley is one of those weapons, obviously. But I'm definitely looking, my phone is, I have it up here ready to listen to anybody who's interested in the guy getting up to the deadline.
Jefe, your turn.
I would be a hypocrite if I said anything other than don't invest in a running back. So I feel like I have to stay consistent with that. If Barkley's like going nuts this year and he plays at least 15 games, he's like a top 3 running back, and he takes a team friendly or something like that, like it would have to be like the stars aligning and all of that happening where they don't want to break up like the chemistry. And then Jones, they're going to franchise tag him because he did such a good job. They want to see more from him. So like it would have to be so many, and like maybe even compete for a playoff spot. Like it would have to be so many things coming together, which in reality probably not going to happen in this first season with so many new things going on. So I'm not a fan of investing in that position. Like you just see time and time again, teams regret it within a year or two.
But even
Dallas. Yep.
that sounds like an off-season plan. Even like during the season, let's say we're at week 7 and we're getting up to the deadline and he's playing that well. Is your phone off or?
No.
Absolutely. No, I'm totally with you, but we have to think that this is John Mara's Saquon Barkley. So I don't know. I mean, I think that Shane will hopefully earn his stripes where he can do what he needs to do, but that is something he'll definitely have to run by Mara.
Oh, sure.
That is Mara's son right there.
I'm going to interject with a really brief conspiracy theory. It's one of the things that we love doing on our show because they're always silly. But I mean, there's no, how do I want to approach this? We all agree that Saquon Barkley is also a very nice face of the franchise. He's a very clean guy. He's a very good looking dude. He's an all-star in college. You know what I mean? Like he is the kind of guy that like John Mara picks. And he's like, I like that I can put him all over Giants social media. I like that he represents our brand. You know what I mean? Like we agree with that, right? Like he's like at least in 2018 when he was drafted, that was a thing that was thought of, right?
He was all of those things. Yep.
Right. Okay.
And think about it. They're still, I'm sorry, Grump, you're gonna finish. They're still doing that and making him the face of everything. And he hasn't done anything in quite a while. So
Yeah.
So do we think that they have that vision for Kayvon. Because he's a big personality. They are throwing him everywhere. They love his Instagram stories and shit. They love getting Sam Prince and him in the same room for the millionth time. And I don't have any problem with this. I'm just curious if you think that conversation ever happened.
I would definitely think the conversation, maybe not in broad terms like that, but that's got to be a thought process.
But here's the thing, though. I'm going to make fun of myself here. The New York Giants are not the Tampa Bay Rays. We're not trying to get ticket sales.
Just because they don't need to. Well, hang on. There is hang on.
Do you not remember the jersey retirements last year just to get people to come to the stadium?
I was going to say.
Just to come to the stadium, but the tickets are sold.
The ticket sales, but he doesn't want an empty stadium, and he doesn't want a stadium full of other teams' fans. Merritt does not want that.
That's the thing. The stadium's always going to be
that hurts his feelings for real, I think. I don't think that's there's no bones about that.
So we think we're dealing with an owner who's more up about his feelings than he is actually what's in the best interest.
I wouldn't say more, and I wouldn't say it interferes with the best interest, but I do think it's a concern of his. Does that make sense?
Marketability is definitely like a conscious part of any talent retainment conversation that they have internally. It almost has to be with John Merritt.
You are 2 for 2 on host substitution right there. Marketability was 100% the word I was trying to say with a whole essay.
I've been looking for a new co-host, and see me after the show.
I only bust my ass. Jefe, what do you think?
I don't know if it was an exact conversation Thibodeau could potentially replace Saquon as the face, but I think what attracted them to Thibodeau so much is that he is that marketable. He is all those things you just listed. He is that, right? He's charismatic beyond belief. The guy is so sure of himself at a premium position in New York. That is exactly what they want on this team. And he happens to be a great football player too. Neal and Thibodeau were basically 2 of the top 3 prospects. In my mind, those are the 2 guys. I can't believe they fell to us. So
it still feels weird, right? Why did that happen?
It does.
But here's the thing:
we don't deserve nice things. That's how it feels.
We have 2 very marketable guys now, and we only have 2 primetime appearances.
Because we suck.
But there's 2. The Giants' own marketability and the NFL's marketability are different. The NFL will follow whatever talents, whatever. The Giants have to find that guy. You know what I mean? The NFL doesn't have to find that. They just pick whoever is. They don't care. You know what I mean?
And to the Thibodeau point about the marketability and everything. Guy hasn't played a snap yet, and in the UK, he's the 9th selling jersey. So
saw that.
He's already a star.
They see that, and they're gonna keep pushing him.
And the NFL also has the right to flex games later on if the Giants become a story.
True,
and Saquon and Thibodeau are playing among the best in the league. They can do what they would like to.
And stupid fucking NBC will have all those dumb graphics all over the screen of all of Kayvon's stacks and stats and stuff. You know what I'm talking about?
This is the requisite Grump hates NBC part of the show.
I hate watching Sunday Night Football. I think it's the worst program there is. I think it's worse than football. It's the worst NFL broadcast in my opinion.
Wow.
It's just too much. There's too much garbage all over the place.
There is a lot of garbage. I'm a huge Sunday Night Football fan I love Al Michaels.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say
Here we
something
go.
that pissed me off. Go ahead.
Sorry. That's not even that crazy. Do you believe in miracles, you dumb fuck? No, clearly not.
30 years. You weren't even alive then.
Well, I was close.
You overshot your load on that.
Overshot my load.
You Deshauned it.
I think he's shooting blanks on that one.
Al Michaels' little nitpicking of gambling cracks me up. I'm not saying he's
funny.
all world. It is very funny.
Al Michaels is one of the last guys who has a big game voice.
Yes,
you hear his voice, you know it's a big game.
And that's another thing I was going to say. Sunday Night Football to me is a big game, and that's why it's been upsetting when the Giants played the Browns with no fans in the stands. And they were kind of in the playoff picture. I was like, wow, okay, this is a big game. It's a playoff. It just feels like a big game. And 3, I love their theme song. So not the singing one. Not the singing one.
Not the waited all day for Sunday night.
I almost ended the show.
Oh, so we have 2 Joe Jet references.
No, I hate that one. I like a bum bum ba ba ba. Yeah, it just has big game feel to it.
I get it. All right, I'll of your 3. All right, go ahead. You're batting 300.
That's a good batting average. Yeah.
It is a good batting. Yeah, congratulations.
Who
do we leave off with the Barkley question? I didn't mean to derail entirely. Did anybody answer that besides me?
I did. Vic, did you go?
I think
no.
Go big.
Jeff and Crank
Oh.
answered.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah, for me, really good. It's gonna be honestly, I kind of don't give a shit what they do with Saquon Barkley, whether they sign him or keep him. I just know. Don't get me wrong, I love Saquon Barkley, and I hope that they would, because he's, like we talked about, such a nice guy, so good in front of the camera. Like, I can watch him on TV and not want to like shoot myself. He doesn't fall for like the Pat Leonard bullshit questions, you know. I like him as a person. I wish he was injured less. You know what I mean? So any extension for me, if he does get extended, is going to need to have as little money guaranteed for injury as possible. And also I just want them to do it sooner rather than later. Like, I don't want it to turn into like this off-season issue and bonanza with, will they re-sign Saquon or not? Like, just get it done. If he's on track to have 2,000 yards from scrimmage this year, get it done by week 8, get it out the way. That way we're also not wondering if he's going to get traded. Just do whatever you need to. And keep in mind that if he does hit the market next year, there's not much competition for the type of ceiling that Saquon has. Everyone involved has to be aware of that. So he's either going to get super paid, or if everyone's gun shy about the injuries, he's going to get paid dick. So, you know, it's just get it done. If you're going to get it done, get it done. And if you're not, shut the fuck up, say, and then wash your hands, move on.
Excellent.
Snacks.
Yeah. I hope he's on pace by week 8, because then I think somebody will be desperate enough to make that phone call.
I agree.
And that's really what I want. You're going to have a hungry kid who's 2 years off an ACL. So I would assume, and in a much more creative and innovative offense, that I think
Art Stapleton wrote a whole column on him today.
He did. Yes, he did. And I think that
shocked
there's
nobody, right?
Yeah, really. I think there's going to be a team that's going to be like, okay, because nobody's going to be able to convince me otherwise. I 100% think Joe Shane was trying to trade him before the draft, because that was one way to clear up space, and he definitely is a guy that is not going to pay a running back. So I am hoping by the trade deadline before it that he is dominating the NFL and every single game, because there will be a team that'll make a call, and his value went from maybe the Giants were going to get a 6th-round pick to maybe now they can get a 3rd or a 4th for a team that thinks they can win a championship, and they need that extra dynamic in their offense. So I am hoping, and again, I am not diminishing Saquon. We're all in agreement that we like him, good kid, all that, but there's no way the future of this team, and Cranky, you were alluding to it, if it takes 3 to 4 years, that him on the Giants is going to be a benefit for this team. So I will wish him all the best. I will never hate him. No disrespect, but I do not want him to be a New York Giant past week 8.
Well, Snacks, here's the thing. If he is having an all-pro season after like week 7 or 8, and he's on pace for 2,000 total yards, the odds are this offensive line is playing really well for him.
Right. The
odds are Daniel Jones is playing well for him. And the odds are we're overshooting our skis with our record. Maybe overshooting again. So we're probably, thinking about sniffing the playoffs.
Oh no.
How would we sell that to the fan base?
Yeah.
Right.
That's been, in purgatory for a decade. Like, oh, this team looks pretty decent. We just traded your best player. It's
an impossible sell. And this is probably a horrific example because it's two different things, but we were 5-2 with Kurt Warner we were like right in the playoff mix, and we're like, no, Eli, he's the number 1 pick. They were right in the top of the division. They made the switch. I understand over a decade of the losing and how miserable it's been. And, outside of the tailgates, there's nothing fun about this football team. But I would hope that selling a 7th seed playoff spot where you're going to get probably trampled, I know anything can happen, I'm just saying, is overshadowed by the fact that we could be a better team for the future if we get an asset for a running back that I would garner to say we're not going to pay. So
it would be fool's gold. And I think the fan base would have to realize that. I mean, I would be all for it.
They would have to bite the bullet. To me, they kind of feel very Rangers-esque from a few years ago, where They sent that letter to the fans like, listen, this is going to take some time. We're going to trade away these big guys, but we're going to build it the right way. And look where they are now. So I would put my trust in Joe Schoen, and I would not be one that's going to – the fans, yes, we occupy John Mara's brain and their pockets, and we fill it and everything. Don't worry about us. Worry about what's best for wins and
we
losses.
showed up this
Hell
year.
yes,
Future,
dude.
for the
But don't.
future.
We'll show
So-
up when we win.
Exactly. Right. So don't worry about our feelings and how you're going to sell something to us. If we think it's the right move, maybe the blinders aren't, oh my God, we're winning. Everybody's going to take a step back and realize that's for the best, for the future of this franchise, because we want sustained success, not just a lollygag, possible potential 7 seed year. So I know what you're saying.
That's what I said last year. It's like we could have made the playoffs last year, in 2019 or 2020. We were not a playoff team. It's a big difference.
Exactly.
Big difference.
Exactly. I want to
Cranky.
build it the right way.
Cranky, hit him with the Daniel Jones question.
All right.
But before that,
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
sorry. The troll in me kind of wants to see the Giants sign Saquon to McCaffrey money just to watch Snacks and Will have a fucking
God,
meltdown.
Will.
I will install a 24-hour camera at his house
All right.
and have a live feed.
So Victor, I was hoping you wouldn't say me. I would not. Listen, I would definitely display my displeasure.
Whoa!
God, I really
You're
want to
already so upset you can't speak English.
I am
Display my
this is
displeasure.
crazy. I think what I was going to show you guys before the show started has been in my head the whole time. Anyway, I am kind of with you, Victor, though. Could you imagine his Twitter if they signed him to big money?
Oh my God.
It might almost be worth the contract.
My feed would just be fire.
Oh my
Flame.
God.
Oh yeah.
If that happened while I was at work, I might have to just go home. Like, I don't know that I would be able to focus on actual, like, my 9 to 5 job if that happened while I
Well,
was
first of
working.
all,
Seriously.
I'd buy some Twitter stock immediately.
Yes.
All right, so let's hit him with the Daniel Jones question. Let's
All right.
move away from what Snacks.
Anybody want to lay on my couch later?
No.
Let's see how it goes. Mara said they did everything they could to screw up Daniel Jones. He's been thrust into action weeks earlier than he was preparing for. They changed offensive systems and coaches multiple times. Never once had an offensive line worthy of the NFL. In everybody's opinion, what percentage of blame for Daniel Jones' struggles do you assign to either the incompetency or lack of continuality with his head coach and offensive coordinators compared to Daniel Jones' own physical and mental abilities?
Snacks, you go first.
Yeah. So I wrote this down when I was kind of prepping a little bit, and may come to a shock. I know it's so difficult to say after the last few years. I like Daniel Jones. I think he can be a good quarterback with the right offense, right offensive system that is not archaic of 1990 and one that is in the year 2022. I would, if I'm going to put a percentage on it, and listen, I'm not by any means saying he's like this all-pro quarterback or anything like that, but I think I could see like a Ryan Tannehill and Daniel Jones with more athletic ability. I think I would 60 to 65% blame on, front office malpractice, offensive line incompetence, coaching incompetence. Everybody, I think you guys probably saw the Golden Tate video today. They're like, they were just not letting him loose, like, at all. And that's something that I've liked about Brian Daboll, talking about that he wants to just let him go. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Eli Manning threw like 24 interceptions a year. I still
A game. I think that was per game.
Yeah, it was per game.
Right. So I put so much, and again, Daniel is not without blame for his mental issues and, not the world's greatest arm, but we have seen flashes. No, they haven't been against the 85 Bears, but I do think there is something there. And, to me, it doesn't suck because it's year 4, whatever it is, year 4. And it's probably the first time that he's going to have an offensive system that's, with the times. Like, Shermer's wasn't awful, but, it wasn't anything special. And the offensive line is probably the best it's going to be. But all those things, you might not see gel till like week 6 or 7. And by then, a lot of people could have their conclusions set in the head unless he just rips off for the rest of the year. So I think he's in a really difficult spot, but I think he has been 100% fucked over. And as the 6th pick, not doing everything you can to try and build around him. Yeah, they signed Kenny Galladay, big name, but they never tried to fix that offensive line. They did not have an offensive coordinator search that just planted Jason Garrett on Joe Judge. So I put more than half the blame on everything outside of Daniel, as opposed to his right arm and his mental issues.
I hate agreeing with you. Victor.
This is the percentage of blame, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So my heart, the homer, my quarterback can do no wrong, soul in me wants to say, 95%, everybody else. Realistically, it's probably like 65-35 to me. Has the coaching carousel made things more difficult? Absolutely. Does that mean that we can overlook some of the things that DJ doesn't do well? Not at all. Everyone involved is to blame to a large extent. The front office, a good front office would have given him an offensive line years ago. Shit, they would have given Eli a good offensive line at the end of his career. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Good coaching would be able to cover up all the warts. A good owner would have been able to find somebody and bring people in that would have been able to take care of business and not fucking interfere. You know what I mean? But Jones's issues, given his specific issues, locking on the receivers, not always getting across the field sometimes, which I feel like is overblown a little bit, but it's still a thing. Like, yeah, that does play a part of it. Like, I don't watch DJ and I think, wow, he's doing good despite the situation around him. You know what I mean? So he does get a good chunk of the blame there, but like, I think you got to be pretty unreasonable to not feel like he hasn't been stuck in like a shit sandwich for like 4 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you hit the percentage the same way Snacks did, and I think I agree with you. Jefe.
I got it at 60-40. So we're like really on the same page here. It's impossible to look at the hand he was dealt and say he needs to do better and it's all on him. Like, it's just impossible. Like, the coaching, the schemes, and the O-line, they didn't draft an offensive lineman in 2021. That's impossible.
Crazy.
It's malpractice. Yeah, like, it's complete malpractice when the Chiefs are finding starters in the 6th round good enough to protect a $500 million quarterback, and we just don't take one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I find that absolutely ridiculous, but I do put 40%, which is almost half, right? I'm still putting a lot on Jones because I truly believe a better quarterback would have yielded better results during being dealt the same hand. If we had our Herbert or Burrow, we would know it, like, even with the same hand. So I don't think Jones is going to turn into a top 5 quarterback. I think he's a major project. But it's clearly he was not dealt of a good hand, not even close to a good hand. But I don't think the kid has done everything to help his case. Part of why they were so conservative with him was because of how he performed, and they were scared that he was going to go back to that. So like, he has to take some responsibility for that.
I agree with that.
As a number 6 overall pick, you expect him to step in and be the guy. Was he overdrafted? That's a different conversation. But when you invest that high, you expect him to be the guy and to make people around him better. And he didn't do that at all. But he was dealt a shit hand. So it's all true.
You just teed me up for my answer, because I'm actually thinking 75-25 coaching, their fault more. And I think the thing about it is perception plays a lot into this. I think the narrative for Daniel Jones was formed by a lot of people, media and fans, on 2 major things that happened. One, they didn't like the pick. So as soon as that pick happened, they were out. Oh, my mock draft had him at 17. Mine had him at 22. I must be right. The team must be wrong. So they thought it was a bad pick to begin with. So, he was behind the 8 ball from the very beginning. Then, everybody goes to all the turnovers he's had. The majority of those are in the very beginning of his career. He wasn't as bad, later on than he was in the beginning. And I think it's just like your first impression. It's like, oh, this guy's going to fumble every time he has the ball. Mm-hmm. He's going to throw a pick every time he throws it, because I saw it the first 3 games. And I think the narrative against him and the perception against him makes it feel like it's worse than he really is. I just, having to deal with so many offensive coordinators and so many coaches, a young guy that, to me, there's so much, it's hard. And the guy's been hurt. There's been so many things. It's hard to blame him for things that he hasn't had the chance to kind of control his own destiny for what is his fault and what isn't. So I'm going to put more of it on the situation than him until he proves me wrong. Now, if he stays healthy this year for 17 games, the offensive line plays better. Barkley has that all-pro year that we're, super pissed off that they traded him. And he's still not playing well. All right, well, it's him. Yeah. But and again, I'm not a Daniel Jones defender or a passionate, I'm not his lawyer.
You only said 25%, so I'm getting mixed messages here.
You were the lowest of percentages here, Craig.
You're undershooter.
I just thought he's had the opportunity to prove that he can or can't do it yet due to injury, due to being held back, due to these different things. So it's all to be determined with him. And this year is going to obviously be the sure get off the pot year, but yeah, I'm definitely in wait and see mode. I've made no opinions then about him.
So here's the thing about Daniel Jones, right? When we talk about players in the NFL that don't perform, right, we stack them up against other players at that position in the league. And, there's how many defensive ends are there in the league? How many running backs are there in the league? When we talk about Barkley, we compare him to the other running backs. How many good quarterbacks are in the league? How many quarterbacks are there in this league that can overcome these garbage things that he had to deal with? There's like 5.
Yeah.
So the fact that he is not one of those 5, I'm not really going to hold against him. Now, so like it's way harder, and it's not his fault that he wasn't put in a situation to be evaluated. You know what I mean? Like you guys said, not drafting an offensive lineman last year, not drafting one in 2018. Whatever. Like there had to be a setup at some point to move on from Eli Manning, and that had to involve the offensive line somewhere along the line, and they didn't do it. And now they're in this situation where they were banking on an offensive line that they created with no depth last year, and people started getting hurt left and right. And then they killed the season right there by banking on the guys that they had assembled without actually supplementing with depth. They ended the season last year. The front office did. So I'm kind of with you guys on putting the majority on the front end and the majority at the front office, and the coaching staff as well. Not giving him a system to actually showcase his actual talents and instead protecting him from himself, I guess. I don't really care. I don't give a shit if he throws 25 interceptions. The fumbles are the only thing I care about, really, truly. Because if he throws a 60-yard interception, taking a shot, it's a punt. When he fumbles and he's already 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage, we're already in our own red zone.
Right.
You know what I mean? And how do you stop those fumbles? You protect the fucking guy. You know what I mean? So
what a hard science.
Yeah, really. Right. So like the biggest thing that he does wrong, the biggest thing that I attribute to his fault, not holding on to the ball, is kind of also not his fault. There's other things, right, where he's not really seeing guys open. And I'm not sure how much to assign to him and how much is the change in system and the bullshittedness of the system. Yeah. That's
displeasure.
Put that on the list.
Displeasure.
But there's another thing too. It's, again, the narrative is, well, they're trying to protect him from making mistakes. It's like, they're also protecting this offense from having no offensive line. They're protecting, there's so many things they're trying to protect of it. The blame goes on.
They're trying to protect it's circular, right? Like the blame, like one thing leads to another. And like what Grump alluded to, there's times where he's like, when things are good, when he does have protection, he's missing guys, or he's not seeing it, or he's not feeling someone come off the edge. And maybe it's because of a result of having such a shitty situation. He's not used to having protection. So like you can go back to that's why, but like you want to see him make those plays when they're there. Right. We're not seeing that all the time. So like he needs to be like consistently.
How many games has he started in his career?
Oh man, I don't know.
11 his rookie year? No. Yeah, probably like 11.
I think it was 12. I think it was 12 as a rookie.
He had one game he sat as a rookie because he was hurt, right? That was the Dolphins game. That was the Eli Manning game. And then the first 2 weeks were Eli Manning, and that was a 16-game season. So it was 13 games, I would assume, yeah.
And he
Said
and what was
37 starts total.
37? Yeah, it sounds about
Yeah.
in 3 years.
Yep.
All
Out
right,
of
so it's a little more than I thought. But
6 times 3 is 8. Put the 1.
Don't hurt yourself.
I love
Snacks.
this.
Don't hurt yourself.
37 out of 48. Did I do that right, Victor?
I think Victor's actually looking at a stat sheet.
He's fucking
I
mocking
am.
me.
He's
I
started
saw that, you
37 out
miserable
of
prick.
38 games he's played.
Oh, now you can't talk either because it's
Hard,
Fuck
right?
off.
What are you gonna say?
I'm gonna get my abacus. Hold on.
you miserable fucking prick.
All right, fellas. I'm gonna hit this with our last question here. And I
Okay,
think
wait, Grump.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Real quick.
Snacks is in charge.
No. I'm sorry. I totally forgot this in the first question, but you alluded to it with like the offensive line depth and everything. With minimal resources, this front office in one off season, I think has done more
I would agree.
to either improve and just get depth with very little money and in the draft and everything than the previous two regimes did in the last decade. So that's something that really excited me as well this offseason. I wanted to bring that back. Now go ahead. You can ask.
I mean, I was gonna say you were right if they had only picked Evan Neal.
Yeah,
It still would have been true.
Right? Like you got Thomas on the left side. Having Neal on the right is by far the best right tackle we've had.
And they signed offensive, interior offensive linemen who they aren't studs. They're not the top of the class, but they have been starters in the NFL. They have played well in the NFL. Depth. That's what you need on the offensive line.
Competition and depth.
Competition, right? And on the offensive line,
versatility. Josh
right.
Azudu plays all over the place, man.
Correct.
There's going to be a good battle for the starting jobs. I love it. It's going to make them better. And if someone goes down, they're going to have.
Are you guys going to training camp?
I'm going to try. Yeah, I think I'm going to take a day and go to one.
I'll definitely try to get there.
Well, I mean, I would like to go whenever everybody else goes.
Yeah, let's coordinate
I'll use some
that.
vacation time or whatever. But this is like the first time I'm like super excited for like the rotation of depth here because I actually trust this coaching staff and because they have guys to choose from. You didn't really have a choice with Judge, right? I mean, like it was kind of penciled in just based on what we had.
Dude, they were really scrapping the waiver wire for starters.
Yeah, and they were retiring the guys that they brought in.
Exactly. They're like, fuck this.
What a dumpster fire, dude.
All right. So since we're talking roster stuff, I'm going to end on this one. Who will be the biggest surprise on the roster this year? Let's start with Cranky. You go first.
Oh, let the
all right, cool.
Let our guests go.
Vic, have you gone first yet? Let's go, Victor.
No, I have not, but I feel like, I mean, it almost has to be Aaron Robinson, no? Because like if for our secondary to be really good this year, he's got to play, whether they move him outside like we all think he will be, or if he's in the slot, he's got to play like super high level for the NFL for this secondary to be very respectable, or at least on paper, right? Safety position, I don't think we're worried about. Adoree Jackson, I don't think we're worried about, other than can he stay on the field. But slot and opposite him, they're going to get picked on every game. And if he's not performing at a high level, it's going to suck. And if he is, after the core injury last year, being second year, and if he is playing to that level, that's going to be the biggest surprise for me. Nothing else is going to really surprise me in terms of personnel this year.
Grump, do you mind if I go next? Because I want to make Snacks feel better about Wan'Dale Robinson.
Oh, then no. Snacks, you go next then. No, go ahead, Jefe.
I certainly didn't trash the pick when it happened, and I was willing to kind of do some research before I came to how I ultimately feel, which is he was drafted for a reason. I think they had their eye on him. Maybe they grabbed him a little earlier than most projected because they wanted him in this offense. And this is Dable's offense. And I know it's Cole Beasley, but Cole Beasley averaged over 800 yards a season in this Buffalo offense the last 3 years. So there's a specific role for him here. I think he's going to be a huge part of the offense. I think he's insanely quick. The thing that's going to be a big factor is he smart enough in the NFL with bigger, faster guys to avoid those crushing hits, because he's going to play a lot over the middle of the field. but I think he is going to have a huge role this season. He's going to be a chain mover. I think he's going to be a yards after catch guy. I think he's going to be, if he stays healthy and you wind up adding Tony, who we've seen what he can do when he's on the field, and Galladay, who is yet to be unlocked with the Giants, like then you actually have an offense. So I think he's actually going to have a huge role, even though it seemed like a reach at the time. I think he's going to be a huge surprise and a huge bright spot on this offense.
Who do you think is more likely to be a starter by in week 17, him or Kadarius Toney? If you got to pick one,
Tony.
Well, I think,
or Wan'Dale Robinson.
Are we counting injury as being a factor for him?
Is that the main?
No, injury out the door. Which I'm basically asking you, which one do you think is better, Wan'Dale Robinson or Kadarius Toney?
I see them both being on the field.
Yeah, I see them at the same time being on the
You're
field. But
stealing
I
my
think,
thunder here.
I think honestly, if you're straight up asking me which one I think is better, I'm going to say Tony right now today.
Well,
He was going to be my pick for.
fuck off. God damn it.
No, you guys can talk at the same time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're in sync like that. Go ahead, Crank. It's your show.
Yeah. No, you're the guest.
What a gentleman.
Well, I was gonna take Aaron Robinson because so I had to pivot, and I like Jefe's pick. I'm very excited. To me, Jefe, I don't. Maybe it was he's wearing 17, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he like got the ball in the backfield a lot, and I believe. Well, I guess Debo wears 19, but why not? Maybe they see a Debo Samuel type player in that, which I think would be really cool. And again, in 2022, that's innovative and everything. So
he's gonna line up all over the place.
I know, I like it. So after Victor violently stole Aaron Robinson from me, who I grew to love after really watching him more and more from when we drafted him last year, and I was on the Talking Giants show with Grump, and Grump was like raving about him coming out. So I really kept a keen eye on him, and I loved his game. So I think he's going to surprise. So now that everybody, I'm going Kadarius Toney. I think with all those bullshit trade rumors and Joe Stern's like what did I call him? Joe Stern.
You're all over the place today.
All over the place because I'm sweating. I didn't turn my air on because I thought it would make too much noise. But Joe Shane, his stern answer about we're not trading Kadarius Toney. I think they have a plan for him. And I think if anybody is going to unlock the potential that we saw in, say, the Dallas game, it's Brian Dable and a Mike Kafka offense. So obviously the injuries are concerning, but and, not being at the first voluntary mini camp or whatever was like, all right, what's going on here? And then he's back in. I think that it looks like he's maturing, showing some signs of growth. And in very short glimpses, we saw what he could do on a football field. And I think it's finally the right offense. And he's that quick hitter that, Daniel Jones is going to benefit from. So I'm going to say Tony, and I'm going to listen to his album after this. So.
All right. Before we respond, Cranky, you go right ahead and piggyback.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on him with Kadarius Toney also, because do you guys remember, I don't know how old you guys are, when the Redskins had the Smurfs? They had like three little receivers. I think Art Monk was one. I forget who the other guys were.
You're asking us about Art Monk. Go ahead, Crank. Just busting your balls. Don't overshoot yourself with the Smurfs, though. Come on.
No, but my point being is, like, I see these two guys as coexisting in this offense, and again, I've said this 1,000 times. I've seen almost every snap of Kadarius Toney's life since he was in high school. You're a
Florida guy.
And he was that gadget guy the first couple of years, but his last year at Florida, he was a legitimate receiver. I mean, he was running legitimate routes. He had the hands. He wasn't just, the jitterbug who was just making little plays out of nothing. He brings so much to the table. And I really think he's just a victim of bad luck. All these little things happen. And again, goes back to narratives. The air gun thing, it was picked up on draft day by people never heard of him before. And people assume he's a problem. And little things like the OTA stuff, it just adds to that narrative. But the kid can play. I mean, we've had a lot of good receivers at Florida in the last 20 years. And I would definitely put him in the the fringe of that very, very top level of guys like the Ike Hilliards that have gone through and, guys like that. So he's a player. And I think, health is my biggest concern with him, not maturity, not skill set. It's just health. And if he could stay healthy and having, we're having more weapons now. I think he's going to have a real breakout year. I am as high on Kadarius Toney stock as probably anybody in this league. And again, it all comes down to health more than anything else.
He is dangerous. I feel like he moves just different. Like
I was just gonna say, like, I think we forgot. Like, if you look up like some of his highlights of just the ball in his hands, it's fucking insane.
That one
the Saints game, I think it's
oh.
Chauncey Gardner just goes flying. He just completely misses it.
Yeah.
He just like goes running in the completely opposite direction.
It's nuts what he does with his feet. And that route against
Diggs.
Diggs, unbelievable.
He got 8 yards of separation on Diggs.
Yeah.
Grump, what Gator game did we go to when he had that one sick play? Was it LSU?
I think it was LSU. We were at that LSU game with Burrow.
Yeah.
Where he threw the pick six to end the game.
Right. He had a sick move. Like, it looks like he just has no joints left or just no cartilage.
Yeah, it really does look like he's missing bones.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense.
He's like silly putty.
I'm gonna
silly buddy.
I'm gonna piggyback off you guys. I'm gonna give my answer before we wrap up this show here. I think that they're going to use Wan'Dale Robinson. They're going to use Kadarius Toney. They're going to use them at the same time, and I think they're going to do a lot of stuff where they're just going to get separation by design and also utilize their twitchiness. But you know who doesn't need separation? Kenny Golladay. I don't think Kenny Golladay was not even a Giant last year.
No.
That didn't happen. They signed him and put him on the shelf is what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at some of his catches from last year, he's like the only one that they threw to when he was blanketed, and he'll still make the catch because that's who he is. And I think Giants fans, we got so excited for him and we didn't get to see him that they just forgot that Kenny Golladay is actually a really good receiver. And with all these other guys getting the attention, getting separation, getting the ball in space, I think that Kenny Golladay is going to be good for like 1 or 2 shots downfield per game or something like that. It's some 20-yard dig route or something like that per game. And if those passes can connect because of the other distractions around them, the open fieldness, the spreading of everything, putting Barkley in the slot and shit like that, I think that he's going to be good for single coverage. And there's nobody on this roster that I want in single coverage more than Kenny Golladay, to be honest. I think that he has the big potential to be the breakout star. And I think Brian Dable is not shy to have Daniel Jones sling it. And now that we have 2 tackles that are worth a shit, might have time to throw the ball downfield. So I think there's a serious shot that Kenny Golladay is that guy.
It's a really good call.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
I hate agreeing with you too.
Dude, I'm going to do it every offseason. I get excited about the team. It's called being a fanatic, right? And I'm definitely buying in again this year based on the potential. Because you look at Barkley, those 3 receivers, if we could just get out from this injury cloud and actually have these guys on the field at the same time, that's another thing that like goes with Jones to support Jones is that he's never had his cast. Like
Never.
his full cast
right.
for like 5%, not even 5% of his snaps. So like if those guys can actually stay on the field, like the good offenses that are humming all year are on the field together all the time.
Can I ask a question for all you guys? I don't know the answer. Maybe you do. Now we have the new coaching staff and new front office and everything. What have they done to upgrade the medical staff and the strength and conditioning program?
I don't think I've heard anything. They do report on that stuff pretty often. I remember McAdoo brought in like a whole new strength and conditioning guy and all new bullshit. And they were tracking their stuff with GPS on their cleats like really early. That was like what, 2016, 15, 16.
Yeah.
And I know that Judge dumped all that shit or Shermer dumped all that shit and brought in his own stuff. And I don't know what Judge did, but I haven't heard anything about it.
I haven't heard anything either, which is kind of concerning.
I think some of it is like, I mean, Barkley's injury last year was just absolutely
he stepped on an
random.
ankle, yeah.
That's random. That's me stepping off a
there's-
curb.
That was so unlucky, dude.
Dude, we were there and I was just like, I was watching. I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Or were we there? Or was that Dallas?
That was Dallas.
That was Dallas. I wasn't there. I'm lying.
And if anybody's ever played basketball
Grump
and done that
busted.
injury, it's debilitating and it's like nauseating to roll your ankle like that. And his ankle hit the ground. Like you knew it was bad.
It was
Yeah.
ugly.
You can't just come back from that. Like that takes months.
Yeah. All right. I'm so happy you guys came on. This was probably the best fake 300th episode. I think we had like, what was it? Like 80 episodes that we kind of just rewound the clock on, Cranky. Cause we just started a new season. We were like,
They were so bad, we just didn't want them.
Yeah, we just started over. So this was our 300th, and I'm so glad that I was able to hang out with you guys. Jefe, I'm gonna put all your stuff in the description in YouTube. But Jefe, why don't you tell everybody where they can find your stuff, because you have multiple spots where you can be found.
I am Jefe Pill on Twitter. I got an El Jefe YouTube page with these silly videos that I make, and then with Eli and Spiro, we have the New York Revival podcast. We have some awesome guests coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're going to announce. So we're at New York Revival on Twitter as well. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, of course. I hope to have you back. I hope to be on. You know, I've ducked you twice. I think third strike and I'm out. Right?
You get one more chance.
Yeah. Victor, how about you?
You can find my podcast when I do put an episode out, nowhere near 300. But you can find that pretty much anywhere where you get your podcast, Phil, Spotify, Apple, everywhere.
I do this every episode, so you know.
I used to have a spiel like down, but you know, whatever. You can follow me on Twitter at JGF Podcast. It's honestly where I spend most of my time and where most of my commentary comes out. So yeah.
Excelente. And Snacks.
Don't follow me.
It's you know,
Unfollow.
I think you're one of my favorite Twitter follows, because I know no matter what you say, I'm either going to hate that I agree with it, or I'm going to just yell at you because you're stupid and wrong.
Well, he has strategic strikes. I mean, I just carpet bomb, but he's just very
he really
very
surgical. Out of nowhere.
The best is when he gets trashed by people who don't know that that's like his shtick. Like that's the thing. Yankee, like some Yankee fans came out of the woodwork.
I love it.
I was loving it.
Oh my God.
It was amazing.
That was great. And then I just went off the next day and just punted. But I don't do much. I don't do as much as these guys. Justin and I from Talking Giants, as you guys know, we host a Giants history podcast show. It's called Bleeding Blue, bleeding_blue on Twitter. It's a lot of fun. We do it during the off season. We have a good time. Just talk about the history of the New York Giants, because the present hasn't been very good. So,
hey, Snacks, get me on there. We're going to talk Art Monk with you on that show.
I would love to talk Art Monk. Crank, there's nothing more I want to do than talk Art Monk. I'll set it up. But this was a great time. Thank you guys for putting it together. And Jeff, is your last name really Pilgrim?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Crazy.
Real life. That is my real life.
I love it. I love it. But thank you very much. I had a blast. Grump.
I'll see you. I'll see you before then, but I'll see you at training camp.
Oh yes, you will. July 17th. Everybody think about July 17th, because I have off that day. So just
Snacks.
I'm devastated. That early?
Oh, probably not. I'm fucked.
I'm devastated that Snacks won't be at the home opener, but I hope as many of you that can will be there, because that's going to be a really good tailgate. And Snacks, I'll miss you.
I'm going to miss you too, but I'm also considering going to the tailgate and then jetting up to the wedding, but we'll see.
That's a power move. That's
not all heroes wear capes.
Yeah, dude, that's a morning pregame. You're not in the wedding. You can make that happen.
Yeah,
but how am I going to drive there?
Car service.
We'll have a Patreon to get you an Uber there.
We can use our influence.
We should start now with the gas prices, guys. Jesus,
I have a nickel somewhere.
We could talk about that, but I want you at that tailgate.
Yeah, I need to be there.
If I'm going to make it, you can make it.
Fuck off.
There you go.
Don't do that.
And I'm the Cranky fan. I'm on this little program with the football Grump. We're in the middle of Lightning Rangers, an AL East battle. We got his New Jersey. Actually, I'm actually rooting for the Tampa Bay Bandits, because I don't live in New Jersey.
I just ordered my Thick Thighs Save Lives New Jersey Generals t-shirt.
Oh my sweet.
So that means
Are you telling me you wouldn't own that?
One?
It's actually a great shirt.
I got one for my friend.
It's a great shirt. It's a great shirt.
No, I will be at the Garden tomorrow. We're recording this on Wednesday before Game 5. I'll be there. Snacks, I hope you're there. I'll be at the stadium next week for Rays Yankees, as we get closer and closer to the rebirth of the New York Football Giants. So I'm looking forward to it. And I appreciate all you guys being on and being good sports when we interact on Twitter. And, it's all in good fun. Snacks, I love you.
I love you back.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us.